So welcome to this interview of Kawada Sensei from Brussels and Belgium. Kawada Sensei, thank you very
Yes.
much for taking time to meet me today.
You're welcome.
I'd like to find out a lot more about your origins and your
Yes.
past, and then bring us up to the present gradually through your long life and illustrious career, if that's okay with you.
Yes, of course.
So first of all, I'm curious to know when and where you were born.
I was born in Japan. The prefecture is called the Tochigi. Tochigi prefecture is about 100-something kilometers north of Tokyo,
Okay.
northwest of Tokyo.
Is it a mountainous region, Sensei?
Just the beginning of mountains, just beginning,
Okay.
Yeah, from my city, my city is called the Sano city. And from there, the mountain ranges start, yeah.
Okay. And when were you born, Sensei? Which year?
May 20th of May, 1946.
1946. That's
Yeah,
precisely after the war ended.
Yes, 1 year after, yeah.
Tell us about what kind of country you were born into. What was the state of Japan at that time?
It was a terrible period because Japan lost the war in August of 1945, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And we had been destroyed completely by the American B-29 planes, bombarding all the time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the war ended with the atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
So one year after that, I was born. So it was a terrible period to be born,
So I imagine, this is just guesswork, that you were born into a kind of quite a poor situation, lack of food and lack of basic goods.
Extremely.
So tell us something about that, because people in the West don't have much idea about that nowadays.
What you want to?
Well, tell us about your childhood. I mean, did you have
Yes,
clothes? Did you have shoes?
Yes, we had a shortage of food, so I always wanted to eat more. And, especially when I was a small kid, when going past by the restaurant where they sold the ice cream, I really wanted to eat that ice cream. Yeah, it was really, I watched all the time people eating the ice cream,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stayed in my mind, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That's a strong memory, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, because, my parents had worked hard and always bringing, food was the main occupation, Mr. Chris.
Yeah. And was that the same for the families in your neighborhood, or was that just your family?
Yes. No, it's not just my family, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was in the 40s, and your first memories are probably from the end of the 40s, the beginning of the 50s, when you began to be aware of things around you, I imagine.
Yeah.
And you told me already that your father was a shiatsu therapist. Do you want to tell us something about that?
Yes, my father was a shiatsu therapist. Those difficult period, yeah, around 1955, something like that. And so many elderly people came to our, small house. And then I always watched my father working with those, it's mostly women, elderly women, around 60, 70, a lot of them at that age. And they had rheumatoid, nervous problems and the muscle. Many of them had the muscle, problems. Difficult to walk, arthritis, this kind of thing.
Was these kind of complaints that they had, Sensei, was that related to the lack of food and the basic hardship of life?
I think all of that, in my opinion, yeah. Yes, because shortage of food, lack of quality of food. We are eating, a lot of starchy, poor diet food, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure many people like me are interested in knowing about how did it come about that your father was a shiatsu therapist? Where did he do his training? Who were his teachers? Do you know?
Well, well, he started with people asking to do their back problems or feet problems, It
Yeah.
was, in the beginning, it was just like that. And then people thought my father was very good at it, because people felt better. And in the beginning, he didn't ask any money, But slowly they started to appreciate more and more. And then he really started asking money. Yeah. And that's how it started.
So what I'm hearing you say is that he was completely self-taught. Is that true?
Mainly, but also he went to attend when there were some shiatsu, lectures or seminars like that. Then he went and he listened to those more experienced shiatsu practitioners. Yeah.
And
So
was that in his local area, or did he have to travel far for this?
Mainly local area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And he also met some acupuncturists. There were people who were doing acupuncture, Max Bastian, things like that. So he had a contact with them, and some exchanges of how they're dealing with treating people. Yeah.
So it sounds like he began doing his own thing and then began also slowly to learn more formal techniques and more formal knowledge. Is that correct?
Yes, that is very much so, yes.
But you were privileged to watch this happening at your home.
Yes.
So what are your recollections from that time?
Well, we lived a small place, yeah. So we didn't have an individual room. So when people came, we just hid somewhere, so they don't see me. And so I watched them, And well, it wasn't very interesting because most of them are elderly people, and I wasn't that interested watching those elderly people complaining about all kind of physical problems,
But something about it must have captured your interest because you became a shiatsu therapist. So what was the interesting part for you?
Actually, there was no interesting part. Because I don't know whether I told you, my dream was to become an artist, a painter, But then my father told me that no one, unless someone is extremely good at it, never make a living with being an artist, yeah. So he completely discouraged me to pursue the artistic world,
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't that I became very interested in what he was doing in the beginning. I didn't want to do that. No, I wasn't that interested. Especially if I have seen my father working with younger people, nice woman like that, maybe be more interested. But I was young and I didn't want, I thought, my God, just doing with these elderly people, it wasn't very inspiring,
Yeah, perhaps not even very interesting, quite boring maybe.
Yes, that's the word, I think, boring, yeah.
So let's just dwell for a moment on this artistic yearning that you had. It seems to me that you're now doing exactly that. I can see in the background, these are your images, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I never thought I would come back to that, but something when we learn in early age, we tend to come back, yeah?
Yeah, in a sense, I think, Sensei, there's this idea of circling around and even spiraling in our lives.
Yeah, yes, I really think so, yeah. And I did some exhibitions at EU, building, EC, European Union buildings, and Japanese embassy, and also at the French gallery, So they thought my painting was very alive. They liked it because I could express living. And maybe that came from shiatsu. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a connection.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because people always say to me, when I look at your painting, something moving, active.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the picture behind you, and I can see that tiger looks like it's about to move. So yeah, there's something in there.
You think so?
Yeah, very great. And I saw before we changed the camera, you have calligraphy in the room as well. Calligraphy is one of your interests?
No, calligraphy wasn't my strong point, but I'm very fascinated by, especially the Chinese calligraphy. When I look at around the 4th, 5th century, after the warring
period. Warring period.
The period really interests me, and also Tang Dynasty. Very interesting paintings. Yeah. I mean the calligraphy. When I look at it, it's really moving my inside. It's alive. Something I feel life in it. Yeah. Because I'm very much into that kind of life. Living thing.